The research report that we've just launched jointly with CMS and Colliers is on the potential for this asset class to grow over the next 10 years. What we've seen in Europe over the last 10 years is really a very significant development of the student accommodation sector, and we believe that this is going to repeat essentially in Central and Eastern Europe. The region is probably 10 years behind in terms of its development, and we see substantial potential for a shortfall of beds in private student accommodation. What we really looked at is this supply deficit, and we modelled it using the number of international students, because that's probably where the demand comes from for private purpose-built student accommodation in Central and Eastern Europe going forward. And we found substantial shortfalls. Say in a 20% adoption scenario, we're looking at 16,000 beds shortfall. If we think that half of international students take a bed, then it's more like 53,000 bed shortfall. And those then if we use valuation numbers of transactions, then we're looking at something like between 1.2 billion of valuation at the lower 20% and 4 billion valuation at the higher end. So quite significant then investment that's required, and it's really the developers that need to do that, because the stock at this point barely exists. There are literally, as we detail in the report, 20 assets operating in the 7 cities that we studied across the region, another 8 under construction. So there's 28 assets by the end of 2020 is nothing like addressing that demand. So we do think that there's a substantial shortfall. In terms of places, we think Poland's got a diversity of cities with large student populations. So Krakow looks attractive. Warsaw on our modelling has the biggest shortfall of all the cities in Central and Eastern Europe. Prague also has a shortfall, but not quite as large as Budapest. So in terms of order, it's Warsaw, Budapest, Prague, Krakow, in that order that we see in terms of shortfall.